Hey everybody, Steve Gamache with another Chef Knives to Go quick look product review, and what we're looking at this time is the Yahiko Shidogame or white number 2 hammered Santoku 165 millimeter knife. So this line of knives uses a 3-layer construction, so you've got a hard core or center steel and then softer cladding on either side. So that harder core steel is Shidogame or white paper number 2 reactive high carbon steel. Heat treats in the 62-63 range. Construction on either side of that harder core steel, you've got a softer stainless cladding, and that helps maintenance a little bit because you've got to worry about what's at the edge, but the stainless cladding obviously is stainless. I will tell you that we'll show you a close-up, but the cladding on these does not extend over the spine, over the top of the knife. So that means that core steel does, this shows you the layers. Well, let's just pop in here and look at it. This shows you the layers, so you'll have to be careful there with moisture as well. You should really dry the entire knife very well before you put it away anyway, but good practice to get into. So this soft stainless cladding does have a hammered finish. It's kind of got large, regularly sort of aligned hammer marks, and then it also has this black, what's known as a kurouchi or blacksmith type protective finish on it, and you can see that's ground off when they take the knife and thin it down to the edge. So let's take a look at the statistics on this knife. These will vary a little bit from knife to knife as they're hammered and made, you know, in a manner not on an assembly line. So this is 148 grams or 5.2 ounces. Edge length is right about 170 millimeters from the tip to the chin, the back of the heel. Overall length's about 310 millimeters or a little bit above 12 inches. These are fairly thick coming out of the spine, but then they thin down. So this one's about 3.5 millimeters coming out of the handle, and then about 2 millimeters halfway down. And these don't have a lot of taper. This one doesn't anyway. So you can see you pretty much keep that thickness until you hit the grind. And this has a pretty low tip on it, so you go all the way around there, and you can see with the grind coming in and thinning out towards the very edge, the cutting edge, that's where you thin up. So the very, very, very tip is pretty thin, but it thickens up pretty quick. The blade height is pretty generous on these at 50 millimeters, so you got loads and loads of clearance for your knuckles or your fingers on a cutting board. And the handles, nothing fancy, but it's a nicely done octagonal oak with a buffalo horn ferrule, which is a nice little upgrade, and it's pretty smooth. You'll get a little bump here between the wood and the buffalo horn, but nothing objectionable. The circumference is a little on the smaller side from some knives. It's about 68 millimeters or 2.7 inches right here where the wood meets the buffalo horn ferrule. Let's see, balance point is going to be right about there for this knife. Since it's a little bit shorter, the balance point is going to be a little further back. And you've got a pretty good spot there for a finger position for a pinch grip on this. So that puts the balance point just a little bit behind my pinch grip. Makes for a very nimble, light feel. Let's see, out of the box edge on this was a good 6 or 7 out of 10 on my scale, so they do a nice job on that. The blades are stiff. They've got nice grinds on them. The fit and finish really is pretty good. I should say quite good. They've got a little bit of rustic feel towards the tang here and the choil, but they've rounded off the choil. They've rounded off the spine just a little bit, so it's pretty comfortable right out of the box. The grinds are well done. They have a, I guess let's get the beauty shot here like we need to do. So you've got hand chiseled kanji on the right side of the blade as you would be holding it. And then you can see the quite large hammer marks. And then you've got a kasumi or kind of frosted finish there on the blade road as it goes down towards the core steel. So there's the core steel coming out of that cladding. This side probably, the lighting on this side is a little bit easier. And then the shiny part's the actual edge bevel. So this is the left side of the blade. One characteristic of these, they tend to bring the thickness of the knife blade down pretty far towards the edge. So you'll see the actual ground part's doesn't go up that high. So you get a pretty fast transition between the very thin at the edge metal and then, or blade, and then it kind of crops up pretty quick to hit this transition, this bump here, if you will, this shoulder to go into the sides of the blade. So that's going to give you great food release. It's going to give you nice food separation. It might wedge a little bit in harder product. You'll have to see what you get, and your mileage may vary, but this is quite thin at the edge, but again, it comes up pretty quick, and so, you know, there's always compromise in knife design characteristics. There's no such thing as a perfect knife. So here we have our profile. So you'll see they've got the snout on this, the nose, the tip really low on the center line. So you're not going to get real high on this without digging the tip in. So this is not a real big rocker, but you do have a pretty nice flat spot towards the back. And you can see it's a very gentle belly. So this is going to be awesome for push-pull cuts, glide cuts, chopping if you have a little bit of motion in there. Straight chopping towards the heel, so, but definitely not a big rocker. Now, your sample might have a little higher tip on it. This particular one does not, of course. So this is a neat knife line. It's stainless clad. It's got super easy to sharpen Shitogami #2 steel, and very nice look. Kind of a rust. You know, refined, but a little bit rustic at the same time. It's got a lot of blacksmith character to it. So this is the Yahiko Shitogami, or white #2 hammered Santoku 165mm knife.